Okay, in this video, we're talking about AWS Connect Contact Center, and I just want to point out that there are a list of APIs that you can use in a wide variety of ways. You could build applications, you could have Event Bridge trigger events and have a Lambda call an API. There is just a wide variety of ways you could use these APIs. And of course, you need the proper permission to do so, but and you would probably utilize the console as well as, you know, CloudFormation or Terraform or CDK uh, to do some of these operations. But in the event that you do need to build applications that call APIs to manage things in Amazon Connect, there are a list of APIs you can use. You can control the user hierarchy. You could define different levels of agents and customers with different permissioning, and you can group them, etc. You could also do anything with user management. You can create a user, uh, delete a user, etc. The resource configuration, you can do things dynamically with resources like create a queue, create a routing profile, do things, anything you might want to do programmatically. And then there's a Q metrics. You could do anything with Q metrics. Like I said, with permissioning, you can create. Um, you could create a certain agent which might need to see Q metrics, and you could give them permission to do so, and you could do all this stuff with APIs. You're better off doing it on the console, but considering that you're calling some of these things from an application, a programming language, you could do that dynamically, and you could also do things with contact attributes. You can define different attributes associated with contacts at a system level, at a flow level, etc. And there is a wide variety of Connect APIs. We'll go through them all. And there's also CloudWatch support. So let's take a look. Let me just show you the documentation real quick. Okay, so this is the URL for the documentation. All I did was search for Amazon Connect API, and I found this on Google, and I just clicked it. So as you can see on the left-hand side, there's different programming with Amazon Connect APIs. Let's see what's in there. Um, you know, they point out that it's eventually consistent, um, which means you got to give it a little bit of time to take effect. Um, and then there's certain actions you can do associated with the different functions of Amazon Connect. And if you look at one of these things, let's suppose we look at hours of operation because that's simple. You can look at the documentation and it shows you how to do some of these things. So let's see if we wanted to create hours of operation, we would do a REST call with a particular payload, and the documentation clearly shows you information that you might need now to make the API call. Now, keep in mind, a lot of folks don't, study this and know it well. There are applications that are written associated with Connect, like React, etc. And I don't, my experience is, we know these things exist. Some of the vendors know they exist. They might send us an event through Event Bridge, and we might have an event mapping to trigger a Lambda, which might call an API to do something. The whole integration aspect is very critical to understand how to do some of these things. But if you don't know them well, you won't use them. So you might do other things, which are very different, which might not be the best solution. So it's best if you go through these APIs get very familiar with them and learn how to use them. Let's see what else is here. And then there's the connect service actions. Let's see. So this, instead of going to the console and configuring the fact that Amazon Connect instance has access to this Lambda and can trigger it or whatever, which is very simple to do in Amazon Connect. Um, there's this API to do it for you. So think about what's going on here. If you wanted a program to do this in three different environments, dev, QA, and production, then you could pretty much just call this and associate the Lambda with the Connect instance. And most of these things use the instance ID, so it's you could probably, if you had permissions, you could do it with curl and just do it on the command line. But most likely it's part of your deployment or your application. Okay, so is anything else interesting here? There's data types. Oh yeah, the integration with services is really important. So, if you want to integrate Salesforce and ServiceNow and make sure that you can programmatically do these things, you could do them. So you would imagine that Amazon under the hood is doing some of these things when you're using the console and configuring something. It might be calling an API to do it. Um, so you have to know Connect really well to make sure that you know what you're doing here. And then there's some rules. Uh, there's some rules that can be done with AWS config uh, to make sure that things are done in a compliant way, and so it's good understanding what those things are. This way when you introduce something like a queue or a particular resource, then rules are followed to make it complete. So that's all we really wanted to show you in this demo. Just that the APIs exist, and you should make sure that you understand them. And most of the time, if you're integrating with a vendor, you'll see that they might be using these things, and you might have to make sure that there's some cross-platform compatibility and permissioning that could take place for their code to execute some of these things. Okay, so that's all we wanted to show you. Let's move forward.